Alright, welcome back to Asphyxia. So, we're just finishing up our board game and starting up some spooky stories. So, everybody get ready to be spooked. Anyway, since Sam shared her story, I think it's Roberta's turn now. Roberta, who was sitting to Samantha's left, shifted uncomfortably. Why? I never said I was going to take part. This is silly. Oh, come on, Bobby, don't be like that. We're just having a bit of fun. Well, it isn't fun for me. I have no desire to sit here and tell ghost stories. Like you had no desire to sit and play the game of life? Roberta glowered. You have already broken one of your vows tonight, Bobby. You may as well break another. That is exactly the sort of reckless attitude I would expect from you, Georgia. Why, thank you. Rules exist to be broken, personal rules more than others. How can you ever hope to expand your horizons if you allow your mind to be so constrained? No matter what you say, that does not change the fact that telling horror stories is an asinine practice. I want no part in it. Oh? Georgia smirked. She looked very much like a spider who had managed to ensnare a particularly juicy fly within its web. Are you scared, Bobby? Is that why you're being so uptight? Even more so than usual? I am not being uptight. It's ridiculous, that's all. We should be asleep. We need to be up by 7:30 tomorrow, and it must be 11 already. The teachers will be checking our rooms to see whether we're in our beds or not, and if they discover we are still awake, we will get in trouble. They won't bother coming inside. If we keep the lights turned off and our voices low, nobody will know. Georgia pressed a finger against her lips, a devilish little smirk playing across her lips. Her voice soft, strangely sensual, she whispered, It'll be our little secret. And she capped it off with a wink. Roberta twitched. She did not want to squirm underneath Georgia's piercing stare, but her expression was so consuming, so encompassing, it was difficult for her to remain calm. Don't look at me like that. Like what? Like I'm a chicken and you're a wolf. It's troubling. You don't like it? Not one bit. I already said I didn't. Are you sure? Some masochistic chickens might enjoy being eaten. Are there masochistic chickens? Do they have that much personality? Well, I wouldn't. Don't worry, Bobby. I don't bite. That much. Stop being so disgusting. You're trying my patience, Georgia. Only because it's so enjoyable, Bobby. Grr. I'll tell you what. If you promise to share with us a scary story, then I'll stop bothering you. I don't believe that. I'll even try to remember to be civil to you for the rest of our trip. How does that sound? It sounds like you're lying. It sounds half-hearted. Being civil to somebody for 2 days should not be such a difficult task. I agree, it should not be, especially for a lady such as myself, but you do make it rather hard for a girl to be civil towards you, Bobby. I'm sure you must understand this better than anyone. How do you battle back your feelings of revulsion when you look at your reflection in the mirror every morning? Roberta's eyes twitched, right eye twitched, as it was wont to do when she spent too much time in George's less than delightful company, but she tried to maintain her cool. She did not want to give Georgia the satisfaction of seeing her blush, for she looks like she's in a permanent state of blush. Her, and Samantha, and Percy, just not Georgia. She did not want to... Her hair was so auburn, her skin so fair, blushing often made her look as though her head was on fire. This was in direct contrast to Georgia, who was pale and interesting at all times, no matter how often she went out in the sun. Alright, I'll try to tell you a story. I have little interest in the subject matter, though, so I cannot promise you anything. Ooh, this should be good. A private reading performed by dear old Bobby herself. Are you being sarcastic, Georgia? Who, me? Georgia pressed one hand against her breast, her eyes wide as though offended. Never. I am scandalized that you would accuse me of such a thing, Bobby. Yes, yes. Anyway. Ahem. Roberta cleared her throat. The sound reverberated through the room, breaking through the stillness of the night air. Once upon a time... Is that really how we're going to start it? Once upon a time? I thought we were supposed to be telling horror stories, Bobby, not fairy tales. I am going to tell you a story, if only you'll be silent so that I may finish it. That's right. Don't interrupt, Georgia. Alright, I'm listening. Oh, and here comes the story. Look at the little bears! Once upon a time, there was a little old woman who went for a walk in the woods. And she was wandering through the woods, she happened to stumble upon a little house with a thatched roof. She peered through the window and noticed that nobody was at home. Next she tried the doorknob and, to her surprise, realized that the door had been left unlocked. Given that she was a meddlesome old woman, the kind who spread gossip with more glee than rats spread disease, she decided to let herself inside, even though this was against the law, and was really very naughty. Oh, pictures! When the woman entered the house, she noticed there were 3 bowls of porridge on the table. Is this going to Goldilocks? Is this porridge? Porridge with blueberries? Porridge with an egg? Or is that just an egg? Oh, it stopped moving. I was seeing if it would go on. Without sparing a single thought for whoever had prepared the porridge, the old woman decided to eat it, for her stomach was rumbling. I see 2 bowls. She tasted the first bowl of porridge, but it was too hot. Yeah, this sounds like Goldilocks. The next bowl of porridge was too cold. The third bowl of porridge, however, was just right, and she liked it so much she ate all of it. That's why it isn't here. We're gonna go with that. They have a spork at their table? After this, she felt rather tired, so she decided to sit down at the breakfast table to regain her strength. Just as before, there were 3 chairs. The old woman sat in the first chair, but it was too hard. What does this say on the side? Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the set dressing. And, oh, there it goes. The music left. The old woman sat... Okay, she sat in the second, but it was too soft. The third chair, however, was just right. The old woman, however, was not. She was too heavy, and the chair collapsed beneath her. The meddlesome old woman cursed and decided to lie down, for she had hurt her back after falling from the chair. She went upstairs to the bedroom and found that there were 3 beds, all made up nicely, as though they were waiting for her. The old woman lay down in the first bed, but it was too hard. She lay down in the second bed, but it was too soft. And then she lay down in the third bed, which was just right. In fact, she found the third bed so comfortable, she pulled the blankets up underneath her chin and went right to sleep. By this time, the owners of the house had returned from their early morning stroll to have breakfast, which they had left to cool. They gathered around the breakfast table, yet their excitement soon changed to cries of alarm when they saw what had happened. "Somebody has been eating my porridge," explained the father. "Somebody has been eating my porridge," explained the mother. "Somebody has been eating my porridge, and they've eaten it all up," exclaimed the child. It was at this point they noticed their wooden chairs around the breakfast table, which were in a complete state of disarray, the cushions strewn across the ground. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair," exclaimed the father. "Somebody's been sitting in my chair," explained the mother. "Somebody has been sitting in my chair and they've broken it," exclaimed the child. The father, the mother, and the son decided amongst themselves there must be an intruder in their home, so they crept up to their bedroom to catch the criminal. When they entered their homey bedroom, they noticed at once that their sheets were rumpled and covered in leaves and twigs. What? Why, somebody had been lying in my bed. "It's a tree person," exclaimed the father. Yeah, whatever. "Somebody has been lying in my bed," exclaimed the mother. "Somebody has been lying in my bed, and here she is," exclaimed the child. The old woman had heard the deep, gruff voice of the father, but she was so deeply asleep that it had sounded like the howling of the wind to her. had heard the voice of the mother, but it was so soft and gentle, it sounded like a fairy speaking from within a dream. However, the child's voice was so shrill and sharp, it woke her up at once. She started, eyes opening. When she saw the family, she shrieked in alarm and tumbled out of the bed. You see, the cottage did not belong to any normal family. They were a family of bears. Who could have seen that coming? The old woman got to her feet with a tremendous shriek and ran over to the window, which was open. She jumped out of it, fearful for her life, and whether she broke her neck from the fall or not, or found her way out of the forest and was arrested by the police for her manifold crimes, I do not know. But the 3 bears never saw her again. That's a fairy tale. Silence descended, broken only by the sound of the wind in the background. Yeah, Georgia looks disappointed. Percy looks kind of disappointed. Samantha looks the same as she usually does. Roberta sat there, her face slowly turning red despite herself, her hands clenched into fists so hard her fingernails dug into her palms. I finished my story. Feel free to say something, anything. I would if I could, Bobby, but at the moment I am lost for words. Consider that an accomplishment, for it doesn't happen often. What do you mean? I mean, I'm astounded by your idiocy. Idiocy? What was so idiotic about my story? It wasn't really a horror story. Of course it was. There were a family of bears. Bears! I thought you would like that reveal, Georgia. You did, after all, try to argue on behalf of keeping a bear in your dorm room. Oh, so you included that twist for me. I feel flattered, Bobby. It's a shame your story fell short. Why does she have barriers? Why did that happen? What was wrong with it? It sounded more like a children's fairy tale to me, and an incredibly moralizing one at that. Well, breaking into other people's homes and eating their food is wrong. The old woman should be punished for it. Then you should have made the bears eat her. Then at least would have made the story a bit more exciting. Oh, now the years are gone. They wouldn't eat her. It would be out of character. Weren't you listening? They were good and gentle bears. Then why is this a horror story? They're the wronged heroes of this piece, so they certainly can't commit murder. Anyway, the punishment has to fit the crime. Theft is not punishable by death in this day and age. And you wonder why people think you're such a bore. She's a bear, actually. You cannot even use your imagination when trying to tell a story. I am not a bore. She's a bear again. Why are there barriers? I'm trying to teach people important life lessons. What's wrong, pray tell, with having morals? They're all so insipid, that's all. It's dull. Maybe if you threw in a few more zombies, it could work. That's your solution to everything, Samantha. You're being too easy on her, Sam. There is no salvaging Bobby's story. She has absolutely no talent. In fact, she is a void where talent goes to die. My genius is something you can't understand, that's all. Just because I prefer to write about simple things, important things, it does not mean I have no talent. Wow, somebody sounds defensive. Georgia smiled, evidently pleased with herself, and folded her arms. Oh well. Fools are always the ones who complain the loudest. Being angry is the privilege of a loser, so I won't take that away from you, Bobby, my friend. You can go too far, Georgia. Why do the barriers keep appearing? Whatever. Who cares? I don't care at all anymore. Roberta suddenly rose to her feet, her face bright red, and stalked over to her bed like a wounded cat. I'm going to sleep. I'm tired. Roberta, but it was too late. Roberta had already taken hold of her pajamas and had turned to exit the room. Samantha noted with wild amusement that her pajamas were covered with little faces of cartoon bears. That was kind of cute. Roberta would probably hit her if she pointed us out, though. Alright, well, After that terrifying tale, I think we'll cut it here. So, we'll start the new day fresh, and we'll see what happens when we get to glacial studies, if we ever do. Next time. Later.